Injuries, where are we at?
Well, we are as we were Friday, to be honest. Jamal, unfortunately, stayed with his club and it just hasn't responded as quickly as what we'd have hoped. Ross is in a similar situation, Ross McCausland, so we were optimistic, but unfortunately we've not had either player to be able to join up with us, and we have we just have to see how Dion is as well. So everyone else is good. Obviously Daniel's back after his personal situation with the birth of his new son, so we're a body to a body more than we were in Bucharest.
How do you see this game, Michael? Is it a special one given your relationship with Scotland? You live here, you played for clubs here, the Scottish national team wanted you. Is it a special type of game for you?
I think any of the home nations is a special game, I think, because really we don't play each other very often in friendlies now, and the days of the home championship are long gone. So, but yeah, I suppose it is a little bit, but no, I don't. I like to see Scotland do well. And I'll look forward to seeing Scotland in the tournament. I have a good relationship with Steve and his staff, so. But equally we want to come here and we want to play well and we want to win the game. Of course we do. So yeah, I don't think it's any extra real edge to it. I wouldn't say, but it'll be a game that we're well prepared for. It'll be a big test for us because I think we're playing against a very experienced international team. We're a very inexperienced international team on a very young side, and they're a team obviously that have had consistent good form for quite a number of years now, so they're very much the bar, I think, for us a little bit, Scotland, because I saw a lot of these players play through the early phases of their career, and it's something I've spoken to the players about. I remember seeing Stuart Armstrong play for Dundee United, John McGinn play for Hibs, for example, and now they're playing in the Premier League, or have played in the Premier League for a number of years. So the journey that their players are on is hopefully the journey that a lot of our players will go on as well. And we're asking a lot of those younger players on the international stage at this minute in time. But yeah, it'll be a good game, and as I say, I think that'll have hopefully a positive exit.
Given how many young players you're going to have in the starting lineup, are you concerned at all about the Hampton factor and the atmosphere this place can bring?
No, not really. No, that's not in any way to be overly confident or anything like that. I think that the atmosphere in the stadium, I think the players are looking forward to it. If you don't, you're as I said, if you don't want to play here on a night like this, you've got to seriously question why you're in the game. We played in Bucharest in front of 30,000 odd, but it was an intimidating enough atmosphere. We played in Copenhagen in front of 40 in June. And for those lads, if you take, for example, Isaac and Shea as an example of that, they'd never played a first team game at all, but they were able to go and play in Copenhagen in front of 40,000 people, handle the atmosphere and handle the occasion. So I think the young players have, one thing you get with youth is a nice naivety, I think, so they just look forward to the game. They look forward to being involved in the game and challenge themselves against obviously players that are established at this level.
There's a report in Manchester suggesting that Johnny Evans might be retiring at the end of the season. First, have you heard about that? Second, what are your thoughts?
Well, I've just heard about it there now, so yeah, I don't really give any credibility to that. I know that if whatever decision Johnny makes, I know that he'll tell me himself directly. So yeah, look, it's not something that I would like to create or make a comment on because it seems to be just speculation.
Okay. Daniel, if I come to you, congratulations first of all. How is everyone? All okay?
Yeah. My partner's good and the little one as well, so it was a nice day and it's the start of a new journey, so yeah, it was good.
And what's it like being back in the camp as a new dad?
Yeah, it's nice. At my club there's not too many older players, whereas here, I've been around players for the last few years with families, so I've sort of seen the dynamic of it, and it's a nice feeling. It gives you something else to play for now.
Did you catch any of the game in Romania with the boys getting that draw, and how much are you looking forward to the Hampton atmosphere?
Yeah, I've been back the last few days and we've gone over the game quite a bit, and the team looked really good, looked really strong, and made the game difficult for them. So yeah, it was a good performance, and we want to do that again tomorrow. It's going to be hopefully a really good occasion, hopefully a good atmosphere, and a chance for the team to go up against our home nation who are going to the finals.
You're a young man yourself, but funny enough, you're now one of the most experienced players in Michael's squad. Where do you see this team going?
I think it's a really exciting team, and see the levels some of the boys are playing at such a young age. I think it can only get stronger with the more games the boys are playing. So yeah, looking ahead to the future, it's exciting, and there's always going to be new players coming up through who are going to test us and want to get in the squad and bring competition. So and it was obviously nice to see Jamie Reid coming in. I'm from Stevenage, and I've heard about him quite a bit from my pals and that, and to see him score was really nice. So there's still that good competition within the team, which is only going to hopefully make us stronger.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. Mark? This way, and then.
Mark, you were talking about Scotland, sort of market. I just wondered if you can elaborate more on what you liked about the way Scotland gone about the development of what you take from it. You could maybe you go with another angle.
I'm not so sure there's so much we can sort of implement. I think the biggest thing really was, if you look back to, I suppose, 2016, and Scotland obviously were the nation to miss out of going to the tournament, although they didn't miss out by much, and I think probably this squad of players was in and around it, but maybe bubbling under the surface a little bit, and have emerged obviously from that period. I think what Steve has been able to do is there's real consistency in the teams that he picks, and there's real consistency obviously in the way they play. Our probably biggest challenge in that is we don't have the depth in our squad that Scotland would have in their squad. For example, if you look at the midfield as an area, Steve could probably change 3 or 4 of those players, and he would be bringing in maybe not players as established, but you're bringing in players who are possibly playing in Serie A, or they're playing in top championship teams. We don't have that depth in our squad at the minute. That's what we have to try and get. And it's the hardest thing as an international player, because we don't have control of that situation. We at this minute in time, we have players who play their club football at League One level. Scotland don't have any player in their squad that plays their football at League One level. So these are challenges. Hopefully international football gives our players a short window to elevate their club level and get them to the next level. If you're in League One, does it get you to the Championship? If you're in the Championship, can it get you to the Premier League? And I think if your players go on that journey, you see them then on the international stage with the confidence and belief to be able to play. So that's probably where we are at this minute in time, and it is a big challenge, because the further down we go to watch players, the younger and younger they get. We would have a lot of players maybe in League One, League Two, who are essentially out on loan from their parent club. Even the likes of Aaron Donnelly here at Dundee, for example. So we need those players to develop in the next 2 to 4 years. They're still very young, aren't only 20, to give us that depth to our squad that obviously Steve has at the minute.
I know you've spoken about that little, but things could have been different. You could have been the opposite dugout for this game. Spoken about your decision making for someone personally, that wasn't like you. In terms of potential within the Scotland group, what do you think?
I'm not sure I would have been in the dugout, that maybe have moved me on by this point in stage, so I would have done a good job first of all to stay in the job. But was I aware of the potential at that time? Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I always felt Scotland had a good group of players. I think at times they've maybe suffered because they've not had a goal scorer in the campaign or something of that nature. And it's such a fine line. You play 10 qualification games. Everyone will talk about our previous campaign and say how disappointing it was. But like we were beaten 1-0. There was nothing in 5 of our games. It could have been different. I don't think it would have been different to the extent that we would have qualified, but we could have put a much glossier picture on it if we had maybe a little bit more resilience, or we had certainly more availability of players at that point in time. So I think I was always aware that Scotland was a team that was going to grow, but and I've said it many times, what I didn't want to do was go in as a job that in my head I was thinking it was maybe in time for me to try something else, and it wouldn't have been fair to Scotland for me to do that, and that's ultimately why I stayed in the job that I was in. I had long conversations with the players, the senior players, and ultimately, 2 years into or less than 2 years into the contract that I signed, took the opportunity and went to Stoke City. Had I gone into a new international job in that time, it's not really in my nature to leave on that basis. So I just felt that it would be the right thing for both parties if, the SFA obviously went in another direction.
From the top list you mentioned, the injuries, just from a local point of view, most importantly, how do you view it? How serious is it?
I don't think it's particularly serious. It's a little bit complex when you understand from the medical team. I think that he was optimistic, but he's played with pain since he had the initial challenge and the injury. I know that I spoke to Philip Clement, and they had him on the bench against Benfica, but I don't think realistically they intended to use him in that situation. So he's got a lot to play for between now and the end of the season. We're conscious of that. So we don't want to put him in a situation where we're bringing him off the bench and he's uncomfortable in that way. So we just hope that he recovers quickly, because the most important thing for us is that Ross is playing for Rangers and playing regularly, because then we've got another player playing at a level, obviously, that we get a lot from that player on the international stage.
Thank you. Think of the face of Scotland side that quite good in the recent results last week.
Well, I watched the game. I can't really comment on the other results. We watched the game on Friday, which was a bit harsh, I thought. 4-0 was harsh from Scotland. They played very well for the first half hour of the game. Could quite easily have gone ahead, didn't go ahead. And then, maybe the goals at the end are maybe a little bit of a combination of you make substitutes in the game. So and we lost a game in Finland 4-0, and Stephen absolutely slated me for it. But anyway, it was harsh on us. It was the same scenario. We lost a goal either side of half time, and it was harsh. The 4-0 scoreline was harsh with a very young side. So I think that when you come and play at home and you haven't been winning games, there's always a little bit of, like, the Scotland team's probably coming under a little bit more scrutiny, but they've done magnificently well. They qualified quite comfortably from what with Norway in the group could have been quite difficult. They've had brilliant results here, obviously, against Spain and some other big nations along the way. So yeah, look, I think they'll be keen to prove a point tomorrow night. But as I said to the players, that's the nature of it. We have to be ready for that, and that'll be a test for what will be a young side. But it's the same. We're in the same situation. These games are great for us because we have everything to gain. We're a team it's very much in its infancy, playing against a very established team. Yeah, he's still probably been the best player in training, which is a bit of a concern. But yeah, he's been terrific since he's been in. Really good, and like what he gives you is a clear, concise opinion as a recently retired player, obviously, so which is invaluable. Around certain things, maybe we can bounce things off Steve and say, well, we're thinking of doing this, and he may say, well, the players will not. I think that if I was a player, that would be what I would prefer to do in that situation. So it helps you a little bit. Internationally, you can't afford to waste a session. And he's been great with the boys. Like Stephen sitting down and talking to Shea Charles, who plays as a 6 in that position, is invaluable. Much more used to him than me sitting down with him, for example. But it is, and it's been terrific having him in. We haven't really looked at it on a longer term situation because it's just really, it'll be dependent on Stephen more than anything else, because he may go into a club situation which wouldn't permit him to work at international level. But at this minute in time, he's had that period where he's had to come to terms with, obviously, giving up on his playing career and that transition into the next phase of his career. And this allows him to do it without maybe the intensity of going straight back in and working at a club or being in that situation. So I think he's enjoyed it, and I think he's brought a lot to the table.
Last question from me. As you know, you're off link with Johnson, Scotland, Aberdeen's the latest job you're going to make. Will you make those links? Is that position of interest to you?
Look, as I said, this is something that is probably a result of me living in Scotland and me recently going to the St Mirren game, where when I left Aberdeen we were leading 1-0, but actually when I got to the car they were leading 2-1, so I had nothing to do with that either. But so I just think that like it's as a result of that. I've said all along, you know, when you commit to a contract, it doesn't mean that you'll see it out, but it means that there's commitment on both sides, which there is from myself and the IFA. When I left my initial contract to go to Stoke City, there was obviously the IFA had to be compensated for that, which they were, and it was you know, everyone was happy with that arrangement. And what I would say, you know, who's to happen, who's to gains in one of the first 12 months, and that's what my focus is.
Thank you. Just on Ross and Foster, how pleased have you been with his development over the past 6 months as playing for a club like Rangers and the pressure that brings, and that really helped him develop?
Yeah, he's been a real kind of find for us, Ross, because it started, I think the first time we brought him in was October, possibly. Yeah, it wasn't September. But he kind of jumped the queue a little bit in our 21s. We had other young players who we thought were almost, you know, I think in one of the early games of the season, Ross was on the bench for our under 21s. So, give an example. But any young player needs to be given a chance, and Ross is a perfect example of a young player that, you know, grasped the chance that he was given, and you know, he probably owes Stephen a little bit of gratitude for that, because it came in the 2 games where obviously Stephen was the interim manager. But the most important thing was when the new manager came in, he straight away not only, you know, kept him around it, but played him consistently and played him in big games. So I've seen a number of those games. And I think Ross is, we always knew there was a good player in there, but you have to get them on the pitch in a first team environment. I think he's got a real calmness about his play, a real assurance about his play, good decision maker on the ball, and is involved in a lot of, you know, the Rangers' goals. If it's not the assist, it's the pass before the assist, and we're delighted. It's probably a player that we didn't think we'd have for maybe another couple of years, if I'm honest. So. And you always worry about those lads whether they'll get the chance to break through at a big club at Rangers, and it's the next phase of their career which is sometimes the most challenging, when they maybe have to go and build their career elsewhere. We've had a number of young lads that have been at Rangers that have gone through that journey, and it's maybe not going as well as what we had hoped as an association. So what Ross is doing is fantastic, and you know, we know that hopefully he'll finish the season strong, and we'll get the chance to obviously have him back involved in June. Brilliant. Thanks very much. Cheers.